Living with or working alongside a narcissist can feel like walking through a minefield where every step risks triggering an explosion of ego, denial, or rage. Their constant need for admiration, disregard for others' emotions, and manipulative tactics often leave you drained, hurt, and desperate to make them see the pain they've caused. It's tempting to call them out, to confront their behavior head on, hoping to spark change or at least reclaim some sense of justice for yourself. But as many have learned, that approach rarely works. Instead of bringing understanding or accountability, confronting a narcissist often escalates conflict, leaving you more wounded while they grow even more defensive. But what if there's a better way? What if, instead of relying on our own instincts to expose or fix them, we trust that God has a greater plan, a plan that doesn't require confrontation, but leads to healing, protection, and perhaps even transformation, guided by divine wisdom rather than human impulse? Don't miss the chance to discover the better path God has prepared for you. Watch this video to gain deep insight and practical steps that will help you navigate a relationship with a narcissist in a way that empowers your healing and restores your strength. Click Watch Now and let God lead you on a journey of wisdom and grace. 1. Calling out a narcissist does not bring justice. Calling out a narcissist never brings the justice you hope for. It's an illusion the mind easily falls into. We often believe that confronting them, exposing their blatant lies or their ruthless cruelty will force them to bow to the truth. But the reality is quite the opposite. For a narcissist, confrontation isn't a splash of cold water to extinguish their ego. It's fuel to the fire. It elevates their fragile pride and manipulation tactics to a whole new level. They don't react like a normal person. There's no introspection, no remorse. Instead, they respond with outright denial, reflexive rejection, and most dangerously, an ability to twist the narrative, turning you, the victim, into the villain of your own story. Imagine standing before a funhouse mirror where everything you say, every truth you speak is distorted and thrown back at you with double force. That is the nature of confronting a narcissist. You can present undeniable evidence, a text message, a broken promise, or a clear act of harm, and they will still find a way to bend reality. For example, if you point out that they failed to keep a promise, they'll say you misunderstood them. Or worse, that you're deliberately exaggerating to make them look bad. They never take responsibility. Instead, they project the blame onto you, making you question whether you're just being too sensitive or too demanding. This reaction stems from the very core of narcissistic personality disorder, a fundamental lack of self-reflection and remorse, two vital elements of emotional maturity. In their minds, the ego is untouchable, a fortress that cannot be breached. Any criticism, no matter how constructive, is seen as a personal attack that must be neutralized at all costs. They cannot face the truth about themselves because it threatens the perfect image they've carefully constructed over the years. So they revert to their usual defense mechanisms: denial, I never said that; dismissal, you're imagining things; and blame shifting. If you weren't so sensitive, we wouldn't have this problem. These tactics not only protect their ego, but leave you drained, disoriented, and increasingly isolated. Even worse, confrontation isn't just ineffective, it can be deeply damaging to you. Every time you try to expose them, you unknowingly step deeper into the web of manipulation they've spun, a playing field where they are the master. Instead of bringing the justice you seek, you may find yourself pulled into a spiral of rage, frustration, and self-doubt. The more you fight, the more vulnerable you become to their counterattacks, ranging from cutting insults to incredibly convincing victim performances. That's why, in the world of narcissism, confrontation is rarely the answer. Rather than charging into an endless war, there are wiser, gentler approaches, ones that protect your peace and preserve your emotional safety. In the end, true strength isn't found in proving them wrong. It's found in choosing not to engage in the battle they so desperately want you to fight. 2. Silence is the ultimate weapon when dealing with a narcissist. But make no mistake, this is not the trembling silence of the weak, but the deliberate stillness of the wise. It's the silence of someone who understands that engaging in battle with a narcissist is like stepping into a rigged chess match, where every move you make is distorted, every rule is bent, and victory is never an option. Imagine standing before a chessboard where your pieces are misshapen, your moves manipulated, and no matter how strategic you are, the outcome is already determined. You lose. This silence isn't surrender, it's refusal. Refusal to play a game designed for your downfall. You're not giving up your power, you're preserving it by stepping off the stage they've so carefully set. Many believe that confronting or trying to enlighten a narcissist will bring about change. They think if they just say the right words with the right reasoning, the narcissist will suddenly wake up and see the light. But here's the harsh truth. You're not obligated to be their awakening. That task belongs to a higher power, God, the universe, or whatever you believe in, not you. Narcissists lack the capacity for true reflection or remorse. Two core foundations of emotional growth. If you tell them they've hurt you, don't expect an apology or a moment of honest introspection. Instead, they'll flip the script, calling you too sensitive, accusing you of exaggerating, or even blaming you for their behavior. Arguing with them is like pouring water into a cracked vessel. It never fills, and you're left drained and depleted. Even worse, confrontation doesn't just fail. It traps you in an emotional vortex. Imagine being caught in a spider's web. Every word, every attempt to resist only binds you deeper into their manipulative game. The more you try to prove your point, the more defensive, hostile, and vindictive they become. And before you know it, you're entangled in a pointless battle, your peace stripped away, and you, no longer yourself, but a shadow. Don't delude yourself into thinking confrontation will bring justice. It only turns you into perpetual prey in their hunt for control. So instead of entering a war with no end, choose silence, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that protecting your peace is more important than fixing someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Hold your boundaries, preserve your energy, let the universe take care of the rest. You deserve a life of peace, and silence is the key that unlocks that door. 3, freedom comes not from changing them, but from walking away. You once hoped, maybe even prayed in silence, that one day they'd come back, look you in the eyes and say, I was wrong. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, but it's time to face the truth. That moment will never come. A narcissist has no concept of repentance. Their heart is a barren land where compassion cannot take root. They see you through a distorted lens of inflated ego, where every fault is yours and every wound you carry is because you were too sensitive or misunderstood. Stop lying to yourself. You cannot change them because they have no desire to change. Every effort you make is like pouring water into a bottomless barrel, futile and slowly draining your soul. Freedom doesn't lie in fixing them. It begins the moment you choose yourself, the moment you walk away from the invisible prison they built from manipulation and lies. It starts when you stop banging your head against the wall of unmet expectations, when you stop waiting for validation from someone who's incapable of offering it. Picture yourself unlocking the chains, not to prove you're strong, but to remind yourself that you deserve to live without begging for kindness from someone who never learned how to give. And don't worry about justice. God sees all and he does not overlook. Maybe today you won't witness their reckoning, but the wheel of justice turns, slowly but surely. You don't need to carry the burden of punishment or redemption for them. Leave that to the higher power. Instead, use your strength to heal, to rise from the ashes they left behind and build a new life. You are not their victim. You are a survivor. Walk away. Don't look back. Don't regret. Every step forward is a declaration you chose freedom. And that's something they can never take away, or surrender the truth to God. You once screamed in silence, clinging to heartbreaking evidence, cold messages, promises that vanish like smoke, or invisible wounds left behind by the narcissist, hoping the truth would one day force them to their knees. But look at them now, still standing, their face as impenetrable as a fortress, their eyes void of remorse, their mouth spilling lies as effortlessly as breathing. You hurt, you burn for justice, you want it now, but narcissists never play by the rules of fairness. They are puppets of a distorted ego dancing on the stage of manipulation. The more you try to expose them, the more masks they wear. Sometimes the pitiful victim, other times the misunderstood hero. Don't weave more suffering into your soul by stepping into that senseless battle. Raise your head. Every act of deceit, cruelty, and manipulation is seen by God. Not a single lie, not one contemptuous glance escapes his gaze. You cannot force truth with words, no matter how sharp, because their heart is sealed, dry and desolate, like a desert untouched by light. But God, who sees into the deepest corners of the soul, he is the final judge. Entrusting the truth and justice to him isn't weakness. It's the strength of a soul brave enough to release the ashes of resentment. Walking away is not surrender. It's a bold act of faith. When you leave, you are not letting them win. You are handing them over to the only one who can pierce the fortress of their pride. You deserve peace, no longer imprisoned by their toxicity. Let God be the one to judge, for while they scatter the shards of deception, he is writing a verdict no one can deny. 5. Walking away is a declaration of your healing. Refusing to play their game is more than a decision. It is the sharpest blade forged in the fire of the pain you've carried alone, now aimed straight at the hollow heart of the narcissist. These individuals, so pathologically self-absorbed, don't live to love or build. They exist only to drain energy from others. Parasites in human disguise. They cannot bear indifference. They cannot tolerate the moment you turn your back and walk away without even a glance of regret. Picture that scene. You, once curled up in the corner of their manipulation, once suffocating beneath sweet words laced with venom, now standing tall, your shoulders steady, your steps unwavering as you leave the stage they built for your downfall. Your indifference becomes the poison that melts the carefully crafted mask they wore for years, the cold wind that snuffs out the flame of arrogance that once fueled their illusion of control. A narcissist needs an audience. They crave fearful eyes, silent tears, even your feeble resistance to keep their play alive. To them, you were never a person, only a prop, a source of fuel to feed their grand delusion. But when you draw the curtain close, when you walk away without goodbye, they become a lone silhouette lost in the empty theater of their own making. Their screams echo, but no one hears them. The spotlight fades. What's left is a fragile, desperate figure exposed. In that moment, brief as lightning within a storm, true change might flicker in their distorted soul. Perhaps they'll finally face the mirror, see themselves for who they really are. But don't let that illusion fool you. Don't let compassion drag you back into the mire. Their journey is no longer your burden to bear. You have freed yourself from the invisible chains they once wrapped around your heart. The victory isn't in whether they change, it's in reclaiming yourself. That precious, irreplaceable piece of your worth they could never grasp or touch. Leaving is not defeat. It is the most powerful declaration of inner strength, of self-respect, and of the value you are worthy of receiving. In the world of a narcissist, you were once the prey, but now you are the survivor, the flame that cannot be extinguished. And that is the most beautiful, noble truth no narcissist can ever take from you, no matter how wildly they thrash in the futility of their own emptiness.